Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Jai, Shishi Gaurnitai ki Jai, Jagannath Baladev Subhadra ki Jai, Shishi Radha Landanishwar ki Jai, Shri Janavama ki Jai, Shri Sita Thakurani ki Jai. Who else is it? Somebody else's appearance or something? I said that already. Janava, Sita, who else? One other person, I think. Go, Madhu Pandit, Ki Jai. Go, Prabhu. Go, Premanandi. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru Grand Gopal Shri Prabhupada. Krishna Prashtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamiti Name. Namaste Saraswate Devi Gauravani Vacharine Nevasesha Sanyavadi Pastichade Shatani Vanchako Putrubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Hare Krishna. A very auspicious day today of Janavama's appearance day. And today we're going to discuss a little bit about, I suppose, about Brahmacari. Is that the idea? Is that the idea, or is there any fixed subject matter or expectation?
Not at all.
Not at all. What would you like to, I mean, we can talk about whatever you want. Well, maybe not whatever you want, but
Something inspiring for the gentleman.
for the gentlemen.
Yeah, the men who are gentle.
Brahmacharya is supposed to be gentle,
Yes.
in the real sense of the term. Doesn't mean weak, it doesn't mean, you can say, sentimental, but meaning in terms of our behavior, how we deal with the energy around us, including our own body, our own lives, etc. So what should we do? I mean, we have very little time. There's not, you can open a book like this, bright orange. That was the main question we were asked after the class yesterday. Well, what's significant about the orange? So, this book has a very bright orange color, very kind of strong message. But the message of a brahmacharya, or brahmachari in the case of the individual practitioner, is the character, the qualities. Internally we could say the objectives which we're aspiring for. What's the purpose of Brahmacari ashram? What's the purpose of the ashram? Abdul?
To be able to control the mind and the senses.
Okay, there's a practical purpose. To control your mind and senses. Yes. Abdullah?
To create a foundation in your spiritual life that carries you.
Okay. Abdullah 3. Where's Abdullah 3? He's on his way, just now coming. Coming very soon. Anyone else?
Serve the Guru. To serve the Guru.
To serve the Guru, okay, yeah.
Traditionally to prepare for Grahastha life.
All right, there we go, big one. That's what it says on that book there. Entering into, right in front of me is a book which says entering the Grihastha ashram. Preparation for Grihastha ashram. Could be, yeah. It may not be also. There's a hand at the back there. A seasoned brahmachari.
A nice way of saying that I'm old.
Nice place. What was that? I can't, oh, it sounded important. What was that?
Nice way of saying Prabhu is old.
A nice way of saying Prabhu's old. Is that seasoned? Seasoned. A seasoned. Okay. You had your hand up before I made that comment, so you must have had another comment besides that one.
Yes. One of the duties of a brahmachari is to study the scriptures.
Study the scriptures, there you go. Well, in one sense, yeah, because even from definition, the word Brahma, achari. Huh? What is achari?
Acting or behavior.
Pardon?
Acting or behavior.
Could be acting or behavior, and achari. Achari.
To live by example.
But acharya, they're absolutely related. To walk? Work?
Walk the path of
I thought the purpose of brahmachari life was to make them work as hard as you can to get as much out of them as you can while you can, isn't it?
Yeah, but they have to walk in between services.
They have to walk. Well, they should run. They should run, not walk. There's no time for walking.
That's correct.
Yeah. Run, collect as much money as you can, right? And work as hard, make them work as hard as you can, so, because they're going to leave to the Grihastha ashram anyway, or something like that, so you may as well get the most out of them while you can, right? Isn't that the idea? Is that what you do? Radharman, you have a half a lifetime's experience. Is that the idea? Make them work all the time, day and night. Don't let them study the scriptures, otherwise they might question what you're doing to them.
Well, that's certainly how it used to be, but hopefully not now.
Hopefully not now, okay, that's good. There may have been periods like that. So study the scriptures, achari. It can mean one who is practicing Brahma. And Brahma means, that's the Lord of the universe, isn't it? We're practicing to become Lord Brahma. Is that what you're doing? You want to become the Lord, the controller, the center of attraction. Is that what we want? Some may have a little inclination in that regards, but that's not really what we should be doing. Well, the meaning of Brahman is not Brahma, as in the case of the Lord of the universe, but the practice which helps one to realize Brahman, or spirit. Realize spirit. So, studying the Shastras, does it take that a little further? Should you just be sitting down all day long? You really be careful making statements like that as well, because you might think, well, maybe I should just sit down all day long and study. Is that right or wrong?
Wrong.
Any other comments on that? There's two choices. Anyone disagree with wrong?
I don't disagree with it, but it depends. Because I was just reading the beginning of the 6th chapter of the Gita this morning, and Prabhupada's first few purports, and it's for more neophyte spiritualist, and working hard is more, work is the means for more advanced. Maybe not so, but it's a question of the motivation, whether it's for Guru and Krishna. So perhaps a more mature devotee can write a book for Krishna, whereas a new devotee might need to clean the stairs, do this or that.
Is that symptomatic of whether you're a new devotee or an old devotee or a mature devotee? Necessarily is so to be perceived towards their, whether they're studying all day or whether they're cleaning the stairs necessarily? Not necessarily, is it? You can be a pure devotee of the Lord and you spend your whole day long cleaning the stairs or cleaning the pots. Can you, what I wonder if you could expand a little bit on that, They're more pro about studying the scriptures. Can you expand on that? Because you can just sit there reading, and does it really mean? Does it really have much of an effect on one necessarily? It might do. Do you give this floor to someone else? I asked you to expand on it, but other hands are going up. Well, it's up to you. You want to take the ball, or you want to pass it to others?
I'm just following your lead, so...
Well, I did ask you to expand on it, so others can expand on your expansion if they wish. An expansion of an expansion of an expansion. Yes, go for it.
Yeah, I mentioned study as one of the important elements of Brahmacari life. It's not the only one.
Okay, that's good, because all of these other points have relevance too, don't they? Yeah, it's one important part. It's not like, don't take that as an excuse that I only need to study or something. And you can expand on that, even if you do perceive it a little bit from that angle. Abdullah?
Yeah, on that point, when one is under practice, it's key for them to study under someone who has realized and to constantly inquire on the scriptures as well.
Inquiring on the scriptures? Yeah, we should inquire. And would it not also be, like if you're a student, common example, isn't it? If we're a student in college or school, what you're studying is relevant, as it's supposed to be, isn't it? Some people are just bookworms and that's their life's occupation, but generally a student is studying that which is relevant, and with the intention of what? And what's the purpose of studying? Let's put it another way.
Utilization.
Utilization. Utility, Prabhupada said, is the principle, isn't it? We try to take directions how to utilize this human life for the most beneficial, depending on our goal. But what is our goal in life? Let's set another starter. What is our goal? What's your goal in life? Yes, you. What's your name?
Mario.
Mario. Italiano.
Yes.
Mario. How many Italians are in the room?
Now we are just two.
There's another Italian in the ashram?
Yes, but now he's in Italy.
Now he's where?
In Italy.
He's in Italy. Okay. So, Mario,
Yes.
what's your goal of life?
Is to overcome this false ego and reawaken the loving nature of the soul towards the living entities and Krishna.
Does that sound good? Does anyone disagree with that or want to comment on that? Mario's goal in life. What do you think? Yeah, there. Wise men in the corner there. The goal of life. We've heard something, I think, Matthew, who said preparing for the Grihastha ashram. Did you say that? Pardon? Huh? Huh? What was that?
That's the goal.
That's the goal.
The goal? The goal of life. I didn't ask that question regarding to the Grihastha ashram. If it's the goal of life. It is the goal of the Grihastha ashram also. If you agree with what was said. It's the goal of the Grihastha ashram. It's the goal of all ashrams. It's the goal of human life. Isn't it? There's another way of saying the same thing. To awaken our love for Krishna and all living entities, or to overcome our false ego or whatever. So every ashram has that in mind. Brahmacari ashram particularly, really, what else is there to do in the Brahmacari ashram? But any more comments on what Mario said?
Love is active, so loving service.
Service, okay. That's menial service. In the Brahmacari ashram, everyone is serving, and no doubt, no matter who they are, in one form or another. But in the Brahmacari ashram, we're supposed to be. Isn't it another aspect of Brahmacari ashram, menial service? Is that correct? What does menial service mean? It means very mean, doesn't it? Some people think like that. This is very mean, they're making me work like a no money, no pay, no stay. Go away. No, what is menial service? Is it word used very often, menial? Is it a common word or not? Yes or no? Not so much, no, probably not. What is menial service?
We should be willing to do any small task, not thinking that anything is below us. Prabhupada is saying ready to do the needful.
Ready to do the needful. Yeah, especially in the Brahmacari ashram. One of my godbrothers wanted to change to sannyas. So he didn't have to do what others asked him to do anymore. He could be independent and do what you want, you know. It's like, and get all the Mahaprasadam. And be picked up at the airport and have a nice, comfortable, you know, misdemeanor. But in the Brahmacari ashram, that should definitely not be our mindset. But being willing to do any service requested. Of course, one has to use common sense as to who requests. A brahmachari is generally, traditionally, brahmachari life means they're living in a gurukul. The gurukul is not just our usual term. Have you heard this word, gurukul? Does everyone know what gurukul is, more or less? More or less. Huh? What is it?
Living under the guru.
Living where?
Under the guru.
Under the guru, in the house or the ashram of the guru. So traditionally that was it. Young boys, 5 years, 6 years, would go to the gurukul. That was Brahmacari ashram. That was Brahmacari. They were brahmacharis. Brahmachari in terms of practical, let's say, practice or society, perception from society is what? Pardon? Celibate. They are celibate students. Celibate. Is that word understood? Celibate? Does it still exist in the English language? Maybe in the language, but not in the culture, in the society. Eh? Very rare. Something wrong with you. Celibate students. What's the point of that? What's the value of being celibate? Why they? This is cruel.
It's a form of self-hatred.
No, it's cruel. A form of self-hatred. That's a pretty strong comment or definition. Menial service, cruel, hatred. These are heavy words, huh? Unnatural. That's not quite so cruel, but it's still pretty. We say, yeah, not very favourable comment. But what's the point of this? Most people would ask, what's the point of this? What are you doing? You're wasting your lives. Now, you're not even 5 years old, you guys. Well, at least you've had some years to enjoy yourselves. But 5-year-old boy. Yeah. And if they stay there, it depends on what you have. Everything is according to the nature. Huh? Nature. It's not just a forced thing. If a person doesn't have the nature, then he doesn't stay. is a serious thing. Why is it so serious? In the Gurukul, they're practicing Brahmacari. They have no association. Maybe if the Guru is a Vanaprastha or a Grihastha, the wife is there, but there's no intimate relationship, maybe in the very early stages when the boy is very young. Otherwise there's no relationship really, it's just mother, respecting her like mother. They have no particular association with ladies. Why? Can't of you answer it? Because it was a culture. We've forgotten that culture. Now most of you are in your 20s, some maybe in your 30s, some maybe in your 40s, some maybe in the 50s. What are you looking at each other for? Who's in their 20s? Mario? Almost everyone. Only 3, I think, are not in. You're still in your teens. When we joined the temple, as you know, it was just literally a few hundred meters over there in Bury Place. Anybody over 25 was like an old man or an old woman. It was like, I think they're too old for this. Well, traditionally, 25 years is old for a Brahmacari. Although there are some, of course, remain Brahmacari their whole life. It's a practice. They're practicing for the whole purpose, which is completely lost in our modern society. The whole purpose of human life. A life of responsibility. Yes, responsibility for our bodies, for our world around us, if we're family members. Yes, it's a life of responsibility. But the highest responsibility is that, is mentioned in different terminology, going back to Godhead, awakening our love of Krishna, transcending, understanding what is Brahman, spirit, all these things. Is a life of responsibility. That's what we're here for, ultimately. So what is the menial service for? And what is it? We've already defined it. Yes, this selfless willingness to do any service which is requested by the Guru, and in the case of our society, by the system, by the temple manager or whatever, the temple commander, whatever you've got, I don't know. That willingness, and it's not even where it comes from, it's the willingness of heart. The Brahmachari's heart is willing like that. You've probably read the story of, in the 5th canto, Srimad Bhagavatam, isn't it? Bharat Maharaj. 5th canto? Is Jud Bharat's also there, isn't it, in the 5th canto? Of course he was appearing like a madman, but he wasn't attached to what service he was doing. He was on this, you could say, spiritual platform. You were making sure no one escapes. The door gatekeeper.
It's his birthday today.
Hare Krishna to you. He's falling down. Krishna, Hare Krishna to you. May you never take birth again. May you never take birth again. Hare Krishna, Jai Krishna, Hare Krishna to you. There you go. That's what it's for, isn't it? Brahmachari life. Yeah. Not to take birth again, but don't fall down. There you go, stood up again. So this is our last lifetime. That's the idea, to train, especially boys, and the girls follow if they get married, but to train them so we never take birth again. their real birth. Their real birth. When we come to that point of surrendering our false ego, pretty hard, huh? Right? Not easy, is it? And realizing that Krishna, he sees everything, he knows everything, he's looking at our attitude, not necessarily what we do, but the attitude. Are we submissive, or are we still trying to manipulate? Are we still trying to enjoy? Are we still trying to, be the center of everyone's attention? Or are we putting Krishna in the center? Brahmacari is to train us to put Krishna in the center. And whatever we do in life, that, as someone said, to prepare ourselves, so we have a good foundation, and so on, yeah. So but that foundation is not just strength. I mean, we have cultures in the world. For instance, in Greece, there was one culture called the Spartans. You must have heard of the Spartans. The word Spartan means, and someone says it's very Spartan. What is Spartan? Again, a word not used very often nowadays.
Austere.
Very austere. Very minimal. Everything's very minimal, very Spartan. Very, very minimal. Living with the minimal facilities. He's very Spartan. My father was quite Spartan. He didn't like anything unless we really needed it. Well, the whole culture based on that. But it was also very notorious or famous for its, let's say, emphasis on association between men and women. Very minimal association. Even if you were married, you never stayed together, and you only came together for sex. They had this, obviously something from previous connections with a Vedic culture, but this restriction between association between men and women. Of course, this doesn't go down so easily in modern day society. Maybe it doesn't go down very easily in your hearts even. But why this strict association was there? Why this culture like this? Was it out of hatred? Was it out of... What was the reason? It wasn't hatred. Hopefully, yes.
I was just hearing Prabhupada lecture, Prabhupada saying Brahmacari is therefore because, or renunciation from sex life, because sex life kick you back to material world. Sex life kick you back to material world.
Takes you back to the material world, okay. Yeah, you kind of take it in terms of something that may occur in the relationship between men and women. So definitely that's no doubt about it. If we're attached to sex life, what we call sex life, then we're definitely going to remain in one way or another within the material world, that's for sure. That's a little bit more, what would we say, specific, maybe not, towards associations between men and women. And 2 hands are up, okay.
It's written that we have so many material attachments which force us to take birth here again and again, and that there's no attachment more complete than the attachment between a man and a woman.
Nothing more, no stronger, no more impelling, no more entangling, no more stronger. It's very powerful, and it's obvious why. If we go back to the origin of everything. So this restriction. Of course, we know from Krishna, the Bhagavad Gita, that it's not just a matter of restriction, is it? You may restrict yourself from the objects of the senses, but what? The taste remains. And one who restricts himself from the objects of the senses, but whose mind still dwells on those objects, is a pretender. It's not real. So it's not enough just to do that. And therefore these endeavors, even if they have some degree of, let's say, relevance, are not ultimately of much real value, because we're still attached. Now the Spartans, apparently they were very powerful. They understood one thing, that, the strength of mind, even physical achievement in terms of power, was more accessible by celibacy, or by minimizing that frivolous or intimacy between men and women. It doesn't have to be, but in most cases it is weakening to the... Of course, for certain persons it gives them strength. Kshatriyas, sometimes we see that they do definitely need that. But from another angle, the deeper strength of resolve, of the sharpness of the intelligence, and especially for the real strength, which is spiritual strength, that anything that deviates one from one's goal in life, one's objectives, is, you have to take it, be very careful. Why there's, at least for the Gurukul student, there is restriction there. This is a little difficult. Well, we're coming in at 20, 25 to Krishna consciousness. You're already in a mature stage of life, and we have a mission. So how does that translate in terms of our present situation? Most of you are probably been, maybe you've had girlfriends or whatever, been to college, pretty loose life. So how does that translate into our present situation? How do you deal with that? I mean, it's pretty hard. Yeah? Abdullah?
To me, that was discouraging.
Excuse me?
Discouraging.
What was that?
Discouraging.
It's discouraging. It can be discouraging.
To know that we've been doing it wrong.
Okay, looking at it from looking backwards. But let's look at our present situation. How does it translate in terms of our present situation?
On that, because we are in an age of quarrel and hypocrisy, it's never too late to sort of renounce, especially after tasting the material enjoyment.
Yeah, you've got that. Sometimes again, especially nowadays, that you had some kind of experience. And you can look around and see the experience of others. And you can hear from Shastra so many, whatever, from different angles, different experiences are there, and different warnings are there, and different guides are there, and so on. We have some experience. We're not completely blind to the facts. There was one famous Brahmacari, his name was Rishashringa. You've heard that name, Rishashringa? Yeah. It's probably in this book, I don't know. The story of Rishashringa. He was kept away from, he didn't know what a woman looked like. He didn't know they existed. He was staying with his father, his mother wasn't alive or whatever, but he was staying alone with his father in the forest as a Brahmacari, menial service, going out working. He didn't know what a woman was. When women came, they were sent to tempt him, actually. They didn't know what they were. He just thought they were, pretty-looking boys. And he fell victim. So a certain amount of knowledge is required. Experience, knowledge, whatever. But we have to know, not just knowledge how to associate, which includes how not to associate. So in our modern society, we learn how to associate with women, or not to associate. How do you associate with women? You can't avoid it, can you? Can you avoid it? How many of you are on book distribution? Put your hand up if you're regularly going on book distribution, half a dozen or so. Can you avoid women on the street? Probably. I guess you can, kind of. I don't look at women. I don't talk to women. Right? Some people are like that. But generally speaking, it's not like that, is it? I mean, I don't know what you do. Do you avoid them?
No, not on book distribution.
So what do you do?
speak to them, preach and tell them about Krishna.
Tell them about Krishna. You don't associate with them. You give them the chance to associate with Krishna. That's the mood of the devotee in relationship. So it's there, but it should be purposeful, just for the service which we're rendering. Whatever that service is. Even within the temple there will be guests, there will be brahmacharinis, there will be various ladies coming to the temple. So we associate only to offer them to Krishna, offer to Krishna. Everything is for Krishna. They're meant for the pleasure of Krishna. In Brahmacari life we're learning how everything is meant for Krishna's pleasure. Everything. Okay, whatever you want, Krishna. This is the mood we're trying to cultivate, this mood of bringing pleasure to Krishna. The material world, the false ego, the desire for sense gratification, birth and death, the grihastha ashram, you name it. Everything has different degrees of this for my pleasure. So an ashram, particularly Brahmacari ashram, is for helping us to understand this essential, eternal understanding that everything is for Krishna's pleasure. Everything. And we're trying to mold our lives as brahmacharis for the pleasure of Krishna. And of course for many may not be ready to just do that in the terms of being a menial brahmachari servant, whatever. And they enter into the grihastha ashram. But the principle is still the same, to learn this or to awaken this understanding that actually we are all simply servants of Krishna. We're meant to simply serve Krishna's will, what he wants. This false ego means we're trying to serve our own will. So in Brahmacari life it's especially a training to help us to, or to give us this facility to imbibe this in our lives. So maybe we can have some discussion or some training here. There's a little section on training, I'll just quickly read it. To become free from material desires and fixed in Krishna consciousness. Freed of material desires. And we have to have another desire. You can't be desireless. Otherwise, how you can just stay without attachment? The essence is to become attached to something spiritual. That's the practice of brahmachari. To become attached to the spiritual. Attached to Krishna. Fixed in Krishna consciousness, training under the guidance of an expert devotee is absolutely required. Traditionally, therefore, brahmacharis lived under the direct tutelage of their spiritual master, being surrendered to him and serving him as a menial servant under strict regulation. Brahmacharis would perform all kinds of menial services. They would beg for the Guru and would not even eat unless called by the Guru. So we have a regulated system. You're meant to follow that principle by regulation. In other words, whenever the time is there for prasadam, that's when you should eat. Eric, what was that sound you made? You're not the only one. I can see another one next door. Even more so. Hank. No, what was your name? Hunch. I mentioned regulation. Eat when the time is right. For some people that means any time. Wherever there's something to eat is the time to eat. You see, isn't it? When Prabhupada started this movement, he started, there was not much in terms of Regulation was there in terms of prasad, but it wasn't limited to the regulated time. Prabhupada had a bucket of gulabs in the corner of the room. So if anyone felt like eating, they could just dip into the gulab bucket. In San Francisco, right next door to the temple, just near, was it? Where did I see that yesterday? Creamy crepe. Is that what it's called? Creamy crepe? Creamy crepe? Is that what it's called? Creamy crepe? This shop along the road? Where are we? Over there. Huh?
Crispy cream.
Crispy crepe. Crispy? Crispy crepe, is that what it is?
Crispy cream.
Krispy Kreme. What is that?
Donuts.
Donuts. There's a shop somewhere just nearby. Krispy Kreme. And there, next door to the temple was a donut shop. And all the devotees would regularly be seen in the donut shop. Not preaching. But enjoying their donuts in between. So brahmacharis, you may have that tendency, but ideally this principle of only eating when the guru asks is this regulation. Control of senses, regulations. By regulation that we can overcome these wild desires in the mind of, as Krishna says. They accepted any chastisements, that's another one, even if it is your birthday. You look tired. Have you been up all night having a party? Not all night, some of them. Working hard. They accepted any chastisements with no question of arguing. Our tendency is to, if not verbally, mentally, at least mentally reject and some constant thing of our false ego, conditioning. This is a practice, Brahmacari life, a practice to become free of that tendency. It's basically our objection to surrender to Krishna behind it. Although this was complete training for smashing. Smashing what? Heavy terms. Bhakti-Vikas Maharaj uses heavy terms sometimes. He's a you know Bhakti-Vikas Swami? Has he been here recently? Last year he came?
6 months ago.
6 months ago? More or less. He's quite a strong, in terms of, doesn't mix words. Smashing what? Smashing what? The false ego. But the amazing thing is, we think this false ego, it's me, why is this? We're so attached, but it's not. The false ego is what's actually keeping us from what we're really looking for, what we really want. What do we want? Sense gratification. Was it Krispy Kreme? Creamy crisp? What is it? We want sense gratification, right? Yeah. I like Luke. Sense gratification. No, we want, someone else said what? Was that? I don't know. Krishna prema. That's real sense gratification. That's real. Krishna prema will satisfy Krishna, you satisfy everything. You'll be fully satisfied. No desire for anything else. There's no other solution. So, although, maybe not always, the Brahmacari is to cultivate Krishna Prema, other branches of practice are there, but the highest and the most absolute is this one. No matter what we've come from, who we are, how old we are, what ashram, and this is the solution to all problems. To develop and to focus on our goal, Krishna Prema. All the training is to bring us to this realization, application, realization, dedication. Although such rigid discipline is hardly possible nowadays, you can read in the 7th canto Bhagavatam if you really want to know traditional Brahmacari life. Did you get all those deer skins I asked you to get the other day?
Yes, and the straw belt as well.
And the straw belts, okay. We're going to be dishing them out later on, is it?
Yeah, I'm confiscating everybody's nail clippers.
No more nail clippers, no more hair cutters either, huh? And what else? No more toothbrushes. You have to use twigs from the trees, isn't it? And what do they eat?
Whatever the Guru gives them to eat.
Okay. And if he doesn't give anything, you have to fast and don't complain. So quite realistically, it's not possible nowadays. Our movement is nevertheless primarily educational and is meant to provide training. Krishna conscious training is so powerful that it quickly raises even the most fallen to the position of a Mahatma or a great soul. It's a fact. I don't know, and most of you have probably had a slightly better lifestyle than many of us when we were young. I don't know what modern day youngsters get up to, but in the 60s and 70s it was two major activities amongst the young, at least those who were a little bit not like completely normal conservative members of society, and that was drugs and sex, and to the extremities practically, to the extremities. Devotees were joining this movement from, sometimes they were actually drug addicts joining the Hare Krishna movement. Then 2 days, 3 days later, they're bright-faced brahmacharis, going all up and down the streets, dancing and chanting. And 2 days, 3 days, 4 days before, many times they put their last joint out, as they were entering into the temple. If you know what a joint is. You may not know. It's marijuana, smoking. Many times. And that was it. Boom. It's powerful training to release us from this. Not this training how to have sex life without getting in trouble. Modern education. Huh? Yeah, it's training so you don't, you certainly don't get in trouble, at least not in the real sense of the word, but you don't have to take birth, you don't have to go through it again. You solve the problem at the root. Some of the most profound devotees in our movement, and when Prabhupada first met them, there's the famous story in the, I don't know if it's in Leela Amrita, but one of the, memories of Srila Prabhupada in one of the books, maybe Samsung, I don't know, where Prabhupada went to one community in California. They were all naked. And several of those boys in that community became surrendered devotees shortly afterwards. And gurus and swamis in ISKCON. They were parading around like monkeys in the community, basically, naked. And drugs and sex that's what you did. That's what his life was for. And then a few days later, a complete change. Powerful. But we need training because those seeds, those tendencies are strong. We're training to look otherwise. It's the duty of those who are able to help others to do so. One who has spiritual knowledge but out of miserliness fails to impart it to others is never blessed with realization of it. We have to pass it on, and gradually he loses that knowledge. Knowledge is not something which is ours. It comes from Krishna. He can take it away in a moment. And we all have to depend on Krishna. Realize that. That's freedom from our false ego. Therefore, for our own good as well as others, we have to preach, teach, and train. Devotees are joining this wonderful Krishna consciousness movement, eagerly hopeful of attaining Krishna's lotus feet. If senior devotees don't help them get fixed on the path, who will? However, training new men is not easy. It requires great tolerance, dedication, and humility. Humility is another aspect which is very important. We have time. But whether or not a temple has a formal Bhakti program, that atmosphere of training and instruction must be there. Junior devotees should as soon as possible become qualified as competent preachers able to give classes and present Krishna consciousness anywhere, anytime. This movement needs hundreds and thousands of convinced devotees to dedicate their lives for spreading the glories of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, so when new recruits come, they will certainly need training. Srila Prabhupada was always training his disciples. Everything we know about Krishna consciousness and know how to live as human beings. So really Brahmacari life is simple to bring us at least to the human platform. We know is because Srila Prabhupada took the trouble to instruct us day after day, minute after minute. He trained his disciples so that they could train others. This is Guru Parampara. Srila Prabhupada said, what is the use of a lecture unless you train them? If Krishna sees that we are serious to look after the devotees that we have, he will send us many more new recruits to expand his movement more and more. All our temples should be dynamic centers where new people are coming all the time to discover the transcendental experience being imparted there. Hare Krishna. So it's a train. It's a train. Yeah. The train is going back to Godhead. So stay on the train, bring others on the train, teach them how to stay on the train, whatever their color ashram may be, besides the point, but to dedicate our lives to the service of the Lord. So any questions? Eric Prabhu.
I was thinking about one thing to ask, how to prevent that the Brahmacari, in the case of entering Grihastha ashram, he'll still keep his eagerness to serve the mission. Because we may have experienced that Brahmacari, because of association, he may be very eager, very ecstatic to serve and do Harinam like that. But it's maybe mostly just because of some, I don't want to say false ego, but something external. So how to prevent that, or how to create some integrity or something which will still inspire us even in Grihasthashram too.
If I understand you correctly, you've been a Brahmachari, you enter the Grihastha ashram, how to maintain the enthusiasm or the spirit. Is something like that?
Yeah.
Because that's something looking to the future. And if you actually do develop the right attitude in the Brahmacari, that won't necessarily be such a problem anyway. If it's artificial in the Brahmacari sense, if it's kind of artificial, we're just doing it out of false ego or some other reason, then you quite likely will have problems to maintain that, let's say, superficial enthusiasm which may manifest in the Brahmacari ashram, or simply enthusiasm born of association or the situation around us in of itself. It might be difficult to maintain it unless you have a very strong wife, and spiritually speaking that means, not materially, or a very good association, the Grihastha ashram. So, but if we're taking proper advantage, when we have the opportunity as a Brahmachari, then it is a preparation, as Matthew has said, for the Grihastha ashram, so that you can be strong as a Grihastha not forgetting what the purpose of life is, not forgetting, we're not losing that enthusiasm, so to speak. You can read in the story of Gajendra the elephant about, maintaining enthusiasm. For some, the Grihastha ashram becomes more enthusiastic because they're not comfortable in a life of celibacy. They're not ready for it, or whatever reason it may be. Other reasons may be there. But to maintain that, no matter what ashram we're in, the essential need is association. Enthusiasm is generally cultivated or awoken in association. It doesn't mean if one becomes a grihastha, one therefore is, now I can do what I like, I'm independent, I'm free, I don't have to listen to anyone, it's not like that either. It's still an ashram, it's still a cultivation, it's still dependent upon good association, whether it's association from our experience in the past, our present experience, hearing regularly from advanced devotees or shastras, whatever the association may be, or following strictly or appropriately the guidelines for one's particular position as a grihastha. One has to be very conscious of our goal in life. Without enthusiasm, without that spirit of enthusiasm, what way it comes out, whether it's going on Harinam or sharing Krishna consciousness with others, or enthusiastic to do a particular service, whatever way it comes out, we have to be enthusiastic to achieve our goal. Without enthusiasm, we cannot progress in Krishna consciousness, neither in material life either. One has to have enthusiasm to do or to achieve a goal in life. So to keep that going, we have to associate, we have to hear regularly, and the Brahmacari ashram is meant to train, not just train in philosophy, but train in understanding. Brahmacari life is meant for realization, it's not just meant for imbibing a particular set of rules or theories, philosophies, but actually realizing the subject as well, so that you're not going to be, swept away very easily. Without that knowledge and realization, it's easy to get carried away, easy to get diverted from the path. Anything else? But if you have good Brahmacari training, you're well set. Then you need guidance from others in terms of the responsibility of Grihastha ashram. And that's important in our movement. There are devotees, some devotees, who are making that their objective to help other young devotees who do want to enter Grihastha life to do it in a way which is giving them a better chance. Anything else?
Thank you so much for the fantastic lecture.
Hare Krishna.
Give me more enthusiasm that I'm trying to contain now for Brahmacari life. Really trying to contain this strong enthusiasm. So in terms of the modern age for Brahmacharya, because we can't perfect the means of how we do it was done traditionally, what standards should we uphold ourselves to perfect the Brahmacharya process in the modern day and age? Because at least for myself, I was doing all kinds of activities before I joined the ashram, and it took some time for me to detach from those activities and attain to the higher taste. Nonetheless, I still think it's never too late, like you said, to go from the lowest stage to the highest.
It is never too late. Sometimes we've had devotees, we'll go back to your actual point, but we've had devotees join the movement, join the Brahmacari ashram at a very late age. Sometimes that happens too. And we've even seen incredible, transformations. Although it's more difficult when you're 50, 60 years living in, whatever world one was living in. So it's a lot easier when you're a young person, no doubt about that. You're in your 20s or even earlier, to make that step and to deprogram oneself, whatever you want to call it, from one's addictions or attachments to so many other things. When you're older, it's a lot more difficult. So how to be practical in our modern situation, this modern day and age, well, you've got quite a few things which you're doing now which are in relationship to that, obviously. What would you say at the moment you're living here? Are all of you living in either the temple ashram or what's it called? The Vedic, what's it called? CVA, Contemporary Vedic Ashram. And this ashram here, how many of you, are you all living in one of those three or not?
Yeah.
No, you're not living there. You're living where?
I'm renting
Nearby, yeah?
yeah, 10 minutes.
Coming regularly, but you're also a single man. Yeah. And you're associating with the devotees here. You may have other experience. You may have some other perspective sometimes. But what would you say that you're doing which is in relationship with tradition, with the same objective, but with a modern application? Modern is the word we're using. Present, let's use the word present, application. What are you doing? You ask the question, you can also give the answer, but let someone else give an answer. Someone who hasn't spoken. Is there anyone who hasn't spoken who would like to speak? Give a suggestion. What are you doing in that regards? Related to that. It could be positive, it could be something in between in terms of accommodating.
Like you touched on it earlier with association, and like knowing you're going to have certain interactions, but knowing what to not reveal in regards to like your mind.
Let me backtrack there. Association and then what?
And then, so you're going to have those interactions.
Attractions?
Interactions.
Interactions.
So knowing like what to reveal in said interactions.
Okay, you're getting quite deep there in a sense. Knowing what to reveal in those interactions, is it?
Or not.
Or not.
More what not to reveal.
More not what not to reveal. There's a place, okay, that's quite an important factor. And maybe it can be expanded a little bit. Quite an important factor. This revealing your heart in confidence. Now, one of the things you probably need, and there are individuals who may have some different natures, but in general, most people need friend, they need association, they need someone you can reveal your mind to in confidence. One of the biggest challenges in Brahmacari ashram is we're still maintaining, for instance, get a bit specific here, maintaining sexual desires. For many brahmacharis, that's the biggest, you could say, probably for most, the biggest one challenge, if you want to call it a challenge, that is. The biggest, whatever, is sex desire. And it's difficult sometimes to know what to do about that. You'd struggle, you try to keep it secret sometimes. I just read yesterday a devotee, last night, wonderful devotee, did amazing service. He left his body years ago, but amazing service, but had this thank you, ongoing, hadn't really been dealt with, I guess, sexual, attachment there is very strong. And, he carried on with his service, so that's very wonderful. But it's not always so easy, it's very strong, and we don't want to live our whole life with that kind of like constantly poking its nose into everything we do, etc. Very strong. And that really requires honesty. And when he was older, and he kind of had no choice, he got inflicted with a, incurable sickness. Then he had all the realizations came, and he started to open his mind and revealed and everything, and it was like, phew, released, It's very important to have that as a part. We're not 5-year-old kids who don't have that, by the way. 5-year-old kid, it's only there in a latent form, it hasn't actually manifested yet. When you come in at 20, it's already full blossom. You know, you need that kind of. Not everybody needs it. Maybe you're already advanced, but most people are not. And you know, you need some form for keeping fully engaged, pure lifestyle, hearing regularly, chanting as nicely as you can. But still, at least that opportunity, that facility is generally required, where you can have that confidential, where you can, you know, reveal your heart in confidence, be honest about life. It's a very important thing to have that in all society, but especially in a modern society where we haven't really got that foundation in life. We've grown up in a more or less a promiscuous society, or perverted society, or perverted education, where they teach you how to have sex. They actually teach you. I mean, it's a forced course in school. It's against the law in some countries. You have to go through a course. How to have sex without, you know, having kids, basically. And you can't have a school unless you teach it. There's no such teaching how not to have sex. It's how to have sex without getting in, you know, what they call into trouble. Actually, you're getting yourself in more trouble by not getting into trouble, because you're, you know, going against nature's course. But how else? Okay, that's one thing. That association and that opportunity to know where, when and how to reveal your mind, or when not to reveal your mind. One of the most difficult things, and there's only one of, it's not necessarily the most difficult by any means, but one of the most difficult things is when you do reveal your mind and it's not in confidence. It puts you off for your whole life. Personally, I've had that experience, so I know. It's very difficult to gain that trust or that ability to reveal your heart, which you need to do. You become almost afraid of doing it when you're young, and that happens, you know. When you're honestly trying to reveal your heart about something which you really, I wish something could be done, I know it's not good, or whatever it is, and then the other person either crushes you or spreads it everywhere, or whatever it is, you know. Very important. That's minimal. That should not be the case, but it sometimes is. So that confidentiality is also very important. Anything else? I mean, that's just one important thing, but just one. What else in our modern society, or our present society, can be seen in the light of traditional Brahmacari life?
I'm not sure this answers your question exactly.
Pardon?
I'm not sure this answers that question specifically, but I was going to say...
You even talk like Ankota. I don't know if anyone knows Ankota. It's amazing. You look like his son. Maybe you are.
Maybe.
Carry on.
Maybe my mom has a secret. Yeah. I was going to say, in transitioning and practicing sense control, it's important to have the ability to cultivate patience, because moving from outside of the ashram into the ashram, if you don't cultivate patience, then you can just end up pendulum swinging back and forth.
Oh, you're right there. Very important point. One of the most important points. I mean, if you read Nectar of Instruction, which is a very good book for everyone, and it's particularly good when Prabhupada starts it off in his preface, everyone must become a Goswami. This book is, and he also says everyone. He's also referring to women, by the way, not just men. So what to speak of brahmacharis? Patience is one of the most important factors which is favorable for that cultivation. Patience, you can't expect it to happen. It may do, or it may do on the surface, but then 5 years later, the seeds are still in the ground. They're still in your subconsciousness, and they come up again. Takes time. Takes time to clear them out. Don't become disheartened if you see that happen, by the way. Sometimes that's another problem which you don't understand. Is you join the movement, it's like, have you ever mowed a lawn? Mow a lawn? You know, you mow all the grass down, there's this, looks real smooth and neat and tidy, and there's not much grass, it's all flat, you know. Well, I did it. You come back a week later, it's a jungle again. What happened? I mowed it, and it's a jungle again. There's the roots and the seeds are still in the ground. So we may not have uprooted the seeds, that takes time. They're still in the ground, you know. If we're not careful, they can grow up again and, you know, it becomes a jungle again. So you may, boom. So patience is there, but patience on its own has to be with enthusiasm to apply that which will, you know, take out the roots as well. Not just be patient to wait for it to happen and doing nothing about it. But patience is equally important, practically speaking. Don't expect immediate change. Your mind may swing back this way and then back that way. And sometimes they both come and go like this, but we have to be patient. Don't become disheartened. You can read, there's a great verse. There's prayers you can say, you know, nice prayers. There's one of two of them mentioned at the beginning of here. Om no bhagavate narashinganmaste jastejase aviyavive bhava vajranaka vajrangsha karmashan vandaya vandaya tamo grasa grasa ong swaha abhayam abhayam atmani bhuyashta ong shram. I offer my respectful obeisance unto Lord Nrsingadev, the source of all power. O my Lord, who possesses nails and teeth just like thunderbolts, kindly vanquish our demon-like desires for fruitive activity in this material world. Please appear in our hearts and drive away our ignorance, so that by your mercy we may become fearless in the struggle for existence in this world. Prayers like that, where we realize that we cannot control our senses. Are we so powerful? Daivi Hesha Gunamai. This material energy is pretty strong. The form of a woman is Maya's form in one sense. Very powerful. Family life, this thing, that thing, is very hard to overcome. You know, we have to turn to Krishna. It's his energy, not ours. It's not the devil trying to tempt us away. Some people see it like that. It's not that it's a competitor to God. You can go on and on with this subject and say, why has he done this then? Why has he created this Maya, which is attracting my attention? It's like another subject in of itself with no time to discuss. But it's there, whatever the reason may be. It's not within our power to overcome it. We can endeavor, we can do everything we can to try to avoid, but it's so powerful. Material energy is so powerful. And the secret is to take shelter of Krishna. So when you have this pendulum swinging, you know, it can be an incentive when the mind wanders all over the place and maybe drags you physically away sometimes. Taking shelter of Krishna and becoming humble. O my Lord, best of the givers of benediction, if you would all want to bestow a desirable benediction upon me, now who prays like this? Huh? Then I pray from your Lordship that within the core of my heart there be no more material desire. Who prays like that? Pardon? Oh yeah, you're literally saying, but I mean, I'm talking in terms of the world around us. Who prays like that? Please take away all of my material desires. Who prays like that? Practically no one, right? Where do you see prayers like that? This is pure devotion. This is the prayer towards pure devotion. It's a stepping stone, first step almost. So we have to turn to those who can help us. We can't on our own do it. And again we're seeing this inability to reveal your mind or to open your heart in the right situation. Even if you have problems, everyone's got problems. Everyone's got attachments. Everyone's got some issues. Don't be so proud that I'm the only one who's got it. What else can we do in our modern society, or our present society, which is related to traditional cultivation of Brahmacharya, the practice of Brahmacari? We have to finish in a few minutes. Huh?
We have the possibility to practice a sadhana.
Sadhana. Sadhana is something which is maybe different in terms of the detail, but it's still the same principle, isn't it? In 5,000 years ago or today, sadhana was part and parcel of the training. It's not just a philosophy or an understanding, it's a practice. And that practice, what does sadhana literally mean?
Practice with a goal.
Pardon?
Practice with a goal.
Practicing with a goal, practice to attain a goal. And any other aspect of sadhana? You all know what sadhana, you've heard the word sadhana? Has everyone heard that word?
Regulative spiritual practice.
Pardon?
Regulative spiritual practice.
Regulated, yeah. And the regulation is not haphazard. You do things in a regulated way. It's very valuable in calming down the whims of our minds, our senses. What else? Anything else? On sadhana?
The activities to reach a certain goal.
Certain activities which are favorable to reach the particular goal.
A medicine.
A medicine. You take your medicine. It's interesting, I'll use that term, medicine. Now, if you have a medical course, it's usually regulated, isn't it? You take 2 tablets after every meal. Or you may think, oh, well, why not just take them all at once? Then I don't have to think about it, 100 tablets in the bottle, I'll just take them all at once. Surely that will work quicker. Why take 2 after every meal? I'll just take 100 after breakfast. Don't have to worry about it then. But everybody knows that won't be very effective. Well, it might have a different effect. It won't be the right effect. It's regulated, like medicine. Anything else? Regulate. You get up at a certain time, you go to bed at a certain time. We know sometimes we don't. Different services are there which don't allow it, but in general we do. And you chant japa, Hare Krishna mantra, which is the most important of all of our sadhanas. Is that right? I guess it is. Chanting Hare Krishna regularly. This is the Yuga Dharma. It's not just one of it's the most important of all of our practices, chanting. The more you chant, the more chances are the heart will be, because that's Krishna himself, personally present. You're associating with Krishna to the degree that we're, opening, or we're hearing, we're associating with Krishna. And Krishna is pavitram, he purifies. He purifies us of these dirty things in our heart. Cheto darpanamajnam, purifies our hearts. So that association, again, in terms of chanting, is so important. Not just devotees around, environment, but the actual associating with Krishna in his namarup, in his form of his name. Association. Very, very important to hear the sound of the holy name. Being regulated with your eating. What does Krishna say? One who is regulated in their eating, sleeping, even recreation, whatever that may be in society, in their fearing or mating and defending and so on. One who is regulated in this way can conquer or overcome all the miseries of material existence. So regulation is the animals are regulated. I don't know if you ever noticed that. They're pretty regulated in general terms. The humans, not so regulated, but devotee, Brahmacari life means regulation. Yeah. Anything else? In our modern society, present society, which is favorable or related to. Anything else? Come on, one more thing.
Strict observance of celibate principles.
That we're trying to do indeed, which is the same, whether 10,000 years ago or 10,000 years in the future. Brahmacari naturally incorporates that. It incorporates studying Shastra. It incorporates menial service. All these things are still going on now. You're going on Sankirtan, you're doing temple worship, temple services, you're doing Studio 108 services, you're cleaning the ashram, you're doing different things, right? Like that. You're associating with devotees, and you're living in a spirit, a holy place, in terms of the temple or temple ashram, and many things which are externally different in previous times, but internally are basically the same goal and applied to the modern or present situation. Same thing as if you dress, you don't put deer skin on. You may be wearing dhoti or whatever the service requires. You're wearing, it's certainly not the normal cloth which you wear. Some of you are doing, of course, no problem. And when we do different services, you put your jeans and t-shirts on. But in general, I was thinking yesterday when we were walking to Studio 108 from here, we went past Bury Place Temple, then we walked further, Southampton Row, one road called Southampton Row. We crossed over along the road to the studio, and I'm pretty sure it was in Southampton Row we used to go 2 to 3 times a week in the morning, 6 o'clock in the morning, to the laundromat. That laundromat is the place where you wash your clothes. We had no facility in Bury Place to wash clothes. We all went twice in a week, maybe 3. I think it was 2 actually. A week with the laundry, and that meant every single devotee's laundry, men, and the women did theirs separately, but they also went there on different days. So we would go, and sometimes I would go with 2 of us. Would go. Usually I was going to the market every morning at 6 o'clock. Then the vegetable market was in Covent Garden. Now one of the things with the traditional Brahmacharis, they have to go out and beg on behalf of the spiritual master Elms. So you go out and do Sankirtan, but we would also used to go out and beg. Every morning I was sent with a wheelbarrow. Actually it wasn't a wheelbarrow, it was one of those things you see in the train stations. The porter has this thing like this, this wheel thing with a thing sticking up like this. They used to. So somebody pinched one from a train station, obviously, and so we had one of those. And I used to go every morning down to the market, which was in Covent Garden in those days. They moved somewhere else, but it was a fruit and vegetable market and flower market also. I used to go every morning down there to beg vegetables for the temple. I was back to, during my Bhakta years. I'm not a Bhakta anymore, I'm not a devotee anymore. Bhakta means devotee. Bhakta is a very elevated term. And you go down there, so it reminded me of those days. Going to the laundry, we only had 1 dhoti each. 1, no kurta. Nobody had a kurta. Nobody. Maybe the Swami had one, but nobody else. Everyone had t-shirts, and the dhoti was a piece of orange cloth which we bought in some store in Oxford Street. Selfridges, I think. One of those stores. Nylon. A nylon orange sheet which we would cut up to make dhotis. And a t-shirt, and try to find a jumper for somewhere. And sometimes you had a pair of socks and sometimes you didn't. So it would go twice a week to the laundromat and get washed there. And when that was there was no one had their own, but there was like a supply of jeans and other t-shirts which you put on whilst the laundry was being done. So we sit in class with jeans on. There's no other clothes. We had one piece each. Then they come back, all tangled up. They put them in the dryer. They're all kind of knotted together, not properly dried. And they'd just be dumped on the floor in the basement, which was the prasadam room, and you'd have to come down after class and suss out a piece. You weren't allowed. There was no question. That's my piece. No. Even the underwear was there in the laundry. Even the copans were in the laundry. Everything went in the laundry. There was nowhere to wash the copans. They would go in the laundry. It was quite a scene. And you're lucky, sometimes at the end there was nothing left. If you were the last one, you couldn't find it. You had to find around someone who took 2 pieces, or go to the temple present and ask for another piece. It's quite a different scene to what you have now. And literally 3 days we had to wear the same dhoti. 3 days. You have to take it off at night. Put a gumshoe, sleep with a gumshoe on only at night. Different world, huh? But it was fun. It was such fun. Because we're all together like a community. Brahmacari life is a community also. It's not everyone unto themselves. You work together as a unit, trying to help each other, inspire each other. Help in every way you can. And that team spirit, united spirit, very much so. Hare Krishna. Wish you all the best. Your Studio 108 program is a wonderful program. It does require patience, as you mentioned. Patience. Some of you have been, some of you know this program in New Zealand. Rasikananda knows, he's from that place in New Zealand, in Wellington, where Devanrita Swami has probably the most successful of these type of preaching outlets, probably. Is it called Mantra Lounge?
The main one is called Bhakti Lounge.
Bhakti Lounge.
There's a couple of others in different cities now.
Yeah, they have different names. So the Bhakti Lounge, it was a Studio 108, but it's the same principle. And it usually takes years of cultivation before, the point of surrender, to join the Brahmacari ashram. And you have your halfway house, which they do too. Same concept. I don't know if it's called a halfway house here. It's maybe more than that. But a facility where some of the devotees were not fully resigned to, so to speak, full-on Brahmacari life, are staying and living with Brahmacharis, and maybe still working or studying or whatever it may be. It's stepping stage, which you then choose which way you want to go. We've always had that actually. Not always. Since about 75, 76 we've had that in temples. It's faded away. We had it at the manor. When the Bhakti program started in 76 at the manor in March 76, the first thing we did was to have a halfway house. One devotee named Virabhadra, he was so good at it. We would have a preaching center. It was in Bury Place. That became the initial preaching center. Rohini Nandan Prabhu was there, and a few others, sending people. Every day, usually 1 or 2 persons would be put on the train at King's Cross. We'd pick them up at Radha, bring them to the manor. They would go into this halfway rooms, where Virabhadra would look after them, and give them a little introduction to everything, plug them in a little bit. And now, after 3 or 4 days, if they wanted to stay, then they would be introduced to the Bhakti program, and they would, or Bhakti program. They would come onto those programs, and step by step they would go up the ladder. And we wouldn't dump them in the deep end. It would be gentle, step by step. And they go on Harinam every day, and then after a month of that, then they would go on book distribution once a week. And after another month, they go 2 or 3 times with regular book distributors. And then after 4 months, 3, 4, 5 months, they join this book distribution party. And that way we're making an average of about 4 new book distributors a month. Within about 2 or 3 years, we build up to 80 full-time book distributors. Times are different, and we see that all over the world. You ask anyone, people are not on that move. I want it right now. I'm going to surrender on the spot. If someone comes and says, I want to surrender on the spot, you think, oh, better be careful with this one. There's something wrong here. It takes time, it takes time, patience, cultivation, going through it. It doesn't have to, but it does, usually now. So little adjustments have to be made according to the situation, but the principle's the same. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna. And the next session we're reading from this book, is it?
Yes.
Give me a book. Okay, if you want to stay for the next session. Oh, it's not even open. That goes to show the interest in this ashram, in this book.
I know why.
You haven't even opened the book.
Why do? No, I'm just going to sing ready from here.
What's this one? Spiritual culture, okay. That hasn't been opened. Good. Thank you all very much. Wish you all the very best, whoever you are, whatever you are, wherever you are, whenever you are, if you are. We wish you all the best. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.